Let's do a deck profile for Levi Ackerman. I know we've only seen about 50% of Attack on Titan Battle for Humanity so far, so it's way too early to be making this deck profile, but you know that I can't help myself. I've got to go and start creating these characters. I think we've seen about 75% of the characters for the entire set, and a ton of these look extremely strong. Levi Ackerman is a character in particular that I've been looking forward to for a long time, and I think he lives up every bit to the hype. As for what Levi does, as soon as I saw him, I immediately thought of Ojiro 2 from My Hero Academia Heroes Clash. Ojiro 2 was a character that was so powerful, he had to be eroded. He was absolutely dominant in the meta at the beginning of last year. Ojiro 2 gave 1 speed and 1 damage for every each different printed attack zone in your card pool. So if you had a high, low, and a mid, then he was giving 3/3. And then he had this once per turn. He could add an attack from his card pool to his hand, and it was only playable if he had all 3 attack zones. So Levi is very similar to Ojiro 2, but he doesn't hit as hard. Levi says that your charge and or weapon attacks get +1 speed and +1 damage. That is a static, so it's online at all times, even when he's committed. And then he has a bottom enhance commit, add 1 weapon card from your card pool to your hand. So Levi's not adding as much stats as Ojiro 2. He doesn't get +3/+3. He's always just giving a standard flat +1/+1. But I really like characters that add congruent stats. And then his bottom enhance is much more consistent than Ojiro 2. Ojiro 2, you had to draw the right zones, or you had to build a student of the art early. It was a foundation that helped you put an attack from your discard pile into your card pool, and then it didn't count towards progressive. So if you found 2 zones, you could always find the third. But you had to build the student of the art early, or you had to draw into the zones. That bottom enhance was not online quite a bit, whereas Levi's bottom enhance is always online. He gets to clear his card pool and pick it up, and he can do that on his second attack. He's not having to wait until his third attack. So what you're trading for firepower, you're getting in consistency. And in this game, in Universus, consistency is king. So I think Levi is almost as powerful as pre-eroded Ojiro 2. And that's a huge compliment. This was a character, again, that had to be eroded. It was so powerful. Levi is a little more gated. He's having to play charger weapons, and then he can only pick up weapons. So you can sprinkle in some charges into your attack lineup, but you want the bulk of your attack lineup to be focused on weapons. I know a lot of people, when they saw Levi, immediately thought of Walk the Dog on the air symbol. Walk the Dog is maybe the best attack in the game currently. It's the 6/6. It says it's an 8 difficulty, but it's really a 4 diff as long as your rival has 4 committed foundations. You're getting to draw a card, stun 1. It has powerful 3. In Levi, this becomes a 7/7, and then we can pick it up and play the 7/7 again. That's pretty amazing. But when you look at the other air weapon attacks in Standard, they're not all that impressive at the moment. And I know that we've already seen quite a bit of air attacks, and all of these have Levi's face on them in Attack on Titan, but we haven't seen the full set yet. So if you're watching this video in the future and you're saying, why aren't you including X, Y, and Z cards? That's obviously Levi's best card. It's because we really haven't seen it yet. These are the air weapons that I saw when I went to UVS Ultra today. And then, of course, we can play Death Attuned weapons, so we get Risky Encounter, which is very strong. I'll get to this card more later in the video. But overall, when I was looking at the air attack package, I wasn't too impressed beyond Walk the Dog. And I know that's a lot of people's first inclination to build Levi on. So I wanted to go a little bit different here and build Levi on the death symbol, because the death symbol has a lot of very powerful weapons, a lot of them based around Himiko Toga from My Hero Academia. And here is the list. I'll jump into the core idea, the core ideas of the list and each card specifically, but I want to pause here for just a couple seconds, let everyone digest the list. So I'm warning you now, you only have a few seconds. I'll show this list again at the end of this video. But the core idea of this is Dual Needle Lunge and Ambush Thrust, Himiko Toga weapon attacks from the My Hero Academia sets, League of Villains, and Jetburn. Dual Needle Lunge says that you can lose 3 health and it goes to your momentum after it resolves. And then Ambush Thrust says you can add a card from your momentum to your hand. So you see where we're going with this. These cards already synergize with each other because you can play Dual Needle Lunge, put it in your momentum, play Ambush Thrust, pick up the Dual Needle Lunge, play Dual Needle Lunge, put it into your momentum. Now you've played 3 attacks and you only have 1 attack in your card pool. But Levi is going to take this the next step. He's then going to say on that second dual needle lunge, I'll then commit Levi, pick up my ambush thrust. I'll then grab that dual needle lunge again, put the dual needle lunge into my momentum, and now I only have that second ambush thrust in my card pool. So with Levi, with just these 2 attacks, we have played 5 attacks and we have 1 attack in our card pool. And we have a momentum for future use that we didn't have at the start of the turn. This is crazy in Levi. So if you're a visual person, I have our hand down below and then our card pool up above. Let's say we drew 6 cards. We drew a dual needle lunge, an ambush thrust, and 4 random cards. We would play the dual needle. Dual needle then goes into our momentum there, peeking out from behind Levi. We play ambush thrust. We pick up the dual needle. We play the dual needle. And then during this, we're going to commit Levi to pick up the ambush thrust back from our card pool. Dual needle is going to go into momentum, play the ambush thrust again, pick up the dual needle, play the dual needle, put the dual needle into momentum. We've now played 5 attacks. Only 1 attack is in our card pool. So now we can play any of the remaining attacks in our hand. So again, because this makes me really happy to watch, this is the steps to playing 5 attacks. It's a very, very simple combo here. And then if we drew any other attacks, we can then play those. And then we can finish them off with this crazy, crazy attack. An attack that I think is so powerful, it's almost not fair. Possibly a ban-worthy card. Maybe I'm saying this way too early. We haven't even gotten these cards in our hands yet. But Risky Encounter from Attack on Titan. I made a whole video about this card about a couple weeks ago, I think. It's a 5-def 4/4, stun 1, and then you get extra damage based on how many fewer foundations you have than your rival. And then you can form with it from your discard pile, sacrificing 3 foundations to play it as your next form with -2 difficulty. So you get to play it from your discard pile as a 3 difficulty attack, and you can just blow up committed foundations. So that might seem like a big cost. Oh no, I have to destroy 3 foundations. But if you're killing them, it doesn't matter that you're blowing up your own resources. Something about Universus is that blowing up your own resources to get some sort of advantage is a very, very common tactic. So in this scenario, we got to just play 5 attacks from dual needle lunge and ambush thrust. Then we can play a couple more attacks from our hand, and then we can finish them off with a couple risky encounters. Even if we only drew 3 attacks, now as Levi, we're getting to play like 8 attacks. These risky encounters can very easily get up to like 10, 11, 12 damage. As long as you're blowing up your entire stage and your rival has a ton of foundations, most of them are going to be committed out by the time you're playing your 7th or 8th attack, or your rivals just ran out of cards in hand. It's really a crazy combo. So we're playing 3x risky encounter. That might seem a little aggressive because the best area that this attack can be in is your discard pile. You don't want to draw into risky encounter. You just want these in your discard pile because if you play them from your hand, you have to play them as a 5-diff. But if you play them from your discard pile, you're playing these as a 3 difficulty attack. And we have cards on the death symbol like Knott's Flask to where we can mill from our deck and very quickly fill up our discard pile. 3x might seem a little aggressive, but we want to see it early because this is an aggressive deck. So we want to at least have 1 or 2 risky encounters in our discard pile by turn 3 or turn 4. I think that the go for the win combo on the death symbol with risky encounter is absolutely cracked. So risky encounter, you're destroying 3 foundations, but then go for the win. You could destroy a committed foundation to build in 2 readies. So you can just keep going. I think you could easily play 3 or 4 go for the wins in this deck. I'm just starting out as a 2 for my early testing. And then the death symbol gives us a lot of foundations that are nice to blow up. Learning to Harden, when we destroy it, we're getting to draw a card. Arrogant Fighter, we're getting to seal down a rival foundation. If we're going for the win, as the action says, then we can seal down their best defensive piece. Because we're destroying so much of our foundations and we're playing a pretty aggressive deck, we also want to ramp up in foundations. And Death gives us some very versatile foundations to do that. Always cool, we can stick in our card pool and build the top 2 of our deck. Weapon Clash, we can flip and build in a face down. And both of these foundations are also amazing defense. And we're going to need a lot of defense because Levi has no defense on face. More on that in just a little bit. But Weapon Clash, we can subtract damage. Always cool, we can stop them from increasing their damage. And it seems like we're going to be getting a lot of like dunk attacks in Attack on Titan that get to be very, very big. So always cool might be really important. Then because we're playing a dual needle lunge focus strategy, we do need momentum outs to use that dual needle lunge. Gouging needle is going to be a 6 low 5 in Levi, powerful 3. So if you have a dual needle lunge and momentum, that becomes a 6 low 8. Very, very strong. It also has a 0 high block. If we don't, if we only draw one attack as Levi, maybe, and then we just build out because that's what we have to do. With Levi, we can use his commit pickup on defense. So we have like a pseudo struggling with studies on face. So if we block with Gouging Needle, we can commit Levi, pick up Gouging Needle again to block with. Refreshing Slice, we can ready it up. We're trying to be a little bit aggressive here, and so we're going to need our ready foundations. It also is going to force our rival to commit one. And then this incredible asset from Attack on Titan, vertical maneuvering equipment. We've got to be playing it. I think almost everybody needs to play 1x of this. Spend a momentum for +3 or -3 speed. You may change its zone, and then you can commit for +2 damage. If you're going against the backup, you get to ready it and just keep doing that. And then a very underappreciated momentum outlet is just dual needle lunge itself. It solves its own problem. It has EX2 on it. So if you play dual needle lunge in an earlier turn and then you're playing it again, you can EX that other one to get even more speed. Then to finish out the attack lineup, I've got 3 Battle Aura releases. It's not a weapon. We can't pick this up, but it's just a very generically strong card. It's going to be like a 4 high 8, and then we're going to get to draw a card. In Levi, it's going to be like a 5 high 9. That's just solid. Instant Shining Flash, it's this 1 low block that we can pick up. It's going to force, when we play it, our rival's going to be forced to spend a momentum. So if we're playing against a very momentum-hungry deck, we can play Instant Shining Flash, force them to spend 1, play something else, pick up Instant Shining Flash, play it again, force them to spend 1. Also, it's a 1 low block, so it serves that kind of like that same function as Gouging Needle, where it's a 0. We have a 0 high block, and then we have a 1 low block. And then Chainsaw Nomu is really, really interesting. It's this flash move that gets -1 difficulty if you have fewer foundations than your rival. And we're going to have fewer foundations than a rival a lot because we're playing so many things that destroy our own foundations. And then it has this response, destroy a foundation. After this attack deals damage, your rival discards a card. Remember, Levi's +1/+1 is a static, meaning that applies to Chainsaw Nomu. So Chainsaw Nomu is like a 5 mid 6 flash on a 4 diff. And then we can pick it up. So if we decide to go for this discard strategy, we could play Chainsaw Nomu, play something else, pick up Chainsaw Nomu, play it again, and potentially get our rival to use 2 blocks and discard 2 cards, basically getting rid of 4 cards in a rival's hand with 1 Chainsaw Nomu. Also, a fun interaction here is the new action coming out, Support of Your Friends. It says response removed before your attack's block step, it gets +2 speed and +2 damage. So that 5/6 Chainsaw Nomu now becomes a 7 mid for 8 flash attack. This action can be used on flashes, and it has the form draw 2 cards, but most of the time you're going to be playing this for that surprise response. Your rival thinks they got their attack down to where they can block it, and then you surprise them with Support of Your Friends. And then Levi's he doesn't have any defense on face beyond sometimes like this struggling with studies interaction if he didn't use Levi on offense. So we need a lot of very strong defense on foundations. That's what the bulk of our foundations need to be focused on. Luckily, Death gets a lot. Invincible Body and Fashion Icon are great resets. I think Fashion Icon is a very slept on card at the moment. And then just other staples, Struggling, Beneath the Armor, Keiko's Aid. We really need the bulk of our foundations to be focused on defense. So again, another look at the list. And I didn't go into specifics on every card, right? I mean, I put in Settling Old Debts and Excited for Blood for card draw. We have like Battle for Dominance for a little more defense. We got our 0 diffs, Surviving the Final, Botan's Coaching. You kind of have to play those. Those are some of the best 0 diffs in the game. And then 2 copies of Knott's Flask. I like to jam Knott's Flask in anywhere I can put it. And it does kind of help out that risky encounter game plan. So I've only played a couple of games with this so far against my brother. He was playing Smiling Titan. There were some very interesting games. He actually ended up nuking me in our second game with that 13 difficulty SR, that attack that I thought like would never actually work. It actually annihilated me. But game 1, I got to play Dual Needle Lunge on turn 2, and then on turn 3, I only drew 1 attack, and it was Ambush Thrust. And then I went ambush thrust, dual needle lunge, ambush thrust, dual needle lunge, risky encounter, and won the game. So I drew 1 attack on turn 3. I played 6 attacks. That's just like the silliness that Levi Ackerman gives you with this dual needle lunge, ambush thrust, risky encounter trio here. So it's a 60 card deck. I've got even block zones. That makes me happy because I'm a little OCD like that. 19, 22, 19. My final preparations whenever I'm ready to take a deck to competitive play is to actually uneven out the block zones. But whenever I first make a deck, I always make sure I have even block zones just to make me happy. So that is Levi Ackerman. It was a really, really fun deck to play. This is my very first Attack on Titan build. Obviously, it's going to be getting a lot better as we get more reveals. I understand that this video is entirely too early, almost ridiculously too early. I just can't help myself. I want to build and play these characters. But that is going to do it for me. Very much looking forward to this character. This has been a blast to play, and I hope you enjoy it.